We are back with another episode of the Tan and J-Man Show. Tanner is out of town, so our good buddy Evan Webb is filling in for him, filling in admirably too. The smartest one out of all of us. So what's going on tonight, Webby?
Not much, J-Man. Appreciate you guys having me.
Absolutely. This is how many times have you been on now?
It's been a handful of times. It's always funny because whenever my schedule aligns where I can actually do it, it always falls in the time of year when I know the least about the sports going on. It's never during football and basketball. It's always during baseball and off-season football.
Trying to think, last week's episode was probably the roughest that Tanner and I have had because there was only like 3 baseball. Nothing happened. Absolutely nothing happened. Had the All-Star break, and somehow we got an hour. Tonight we should be okay with the trade deadline. I don't know if you followed it at all, but it's been crazy so far.
Okay, yeah, I've tried to keep tabs on it, but I've been running all over today, so I haven't got a chance to really catch up yet.
Before we go any further, I have a trivia question for you.
Oh, God.
Birdie Bogey. It's an NBA one, so it's basketball.
Right. Okay.
I saw this. Diana Taurasi joins 2 players as the only players in WNBA in NBA history to record a 30-point game at age 40 or older. These are 2 NBA guys. I'm not going to have you guess like Lisa Leslie or
That's my only guess.
I was going to say it's about the only WNBA player I can think of. But yeah, 2 players in NBA history to record a 30-point game at age 40 or older. So you will answer that at the end of the show. Birdie Bogey is brought to you by Noble Gnome LLC for fresh, locally grown, nutrient-dense produce from Bryce and Katie Romine of Mentone, Indiana. Like them on Facebook, follow them on Instagram, and check out their website, noblegnomellc.com. Get your veggies.
Go Lollapalooza there, J-Man?
No, but it is... Lala's going on. Is it still going on, or was
it ended last night?
Did it?
Yeah.
I know it was packed. I saw videos of guys like trying to sprint to the front for the Metallica concert. It looked like a 2-mile sprint, and this very middle-aged man was just going all out. I would have died. I would have died. My heart would have exploded. I know you're a concert guy. Would you sprint? Let's see, a mile. A mile's a long ways. What at what length would you sprint to try to get front row at, say, Green Day?
A mile.
Would you?
I wouldn't make it. If it was like 100 yards, which is, I've been at a show. It was a festival where it was actually at the Chicago Fire Stadium. At least did they move? I can't remember if they moved. They used to be in Bridgeview, Illinois.
Couldn't tell you.
It was the Chicago Fire Stadium at the time in 2010. But it was a huge festival, like Eric Clapton Guitar Festival. So it was a lot.
I remember you going
names.
to that. Yeah.
Yeah, and I remember we had like pit tickets or on the floor, I guess. And they had one section, because my dad had gone before, where they had one roped off section where if you got into this section, you were like, no more than 10 rows from the stage, it felt like, but you had to stand the entire show. And you could come out, but you can sit down if you want to. But if you're in that area, you had to stand. And I remember, we enter the top in the concourse. I remember just like filing out into the stands and like wanting to run down there, because that was the whole thing. Was like, we need to get down there and save a spot for, there's like 6 of us. And we're just like seeing just everybody. It was almost like ants just like crawling and just sprinting on this thing. And that was probably the only show I've actually sprinted. I said that I guess the Green Day show where me, and Tanner went. We did at least I did some sprinting to try and get as close as possible. It was a smaller venue though.
We left you inside there, and Tanner and I went to a bar for a few hours and hung out. And you got pretty close.
Yeah, I got pretty close.
Probably 3 or 4 rows back. And I remember right at the beginning of the show when it's like the rush towards the stage, I'm thinking I'm gonna kill Webby for getting his floor seats. Thought Tanner and I were goners, but then after like the first song, everything calmed down.
Yeah,
it was a blast.
Yeah. I'd probably do to go back to the original question. I'd probably be good at 100 yards. After that, I'd be in trouble. But
I don't think there's anything, unless there's like an emergency, that would make me sprint at this point. Sprinting and J-Man does not does not go hand in hand. This episode is brought to you by The Damn Landing. Whether you want an epic burger, hand-tossed pizza, hamburger, turtle wine, seafood, craft beer, or a handcrafted cocktail, The Damn Landing is the place to be. Damn Landing is a bar and grill located on beautiful Lake Manitou, focused on freshness and quality. You can wash down their delicious food with one of their 16 beers on tap with the constant rotation of today's best microbrews and domestic flavors, or a handcrafted cocktail made using fresh ingredients. Taking the fantastic views of Lake Manitou in their beer garden or outdoor bar area. Whether it be boats or wheels, the Damn Landing is the place to be, located 1305 Ewing Road in Rochester. That is the first time I've gone word for word without actually looking at it on my phone. So, you know what? Your presence has brought out the best in me tonight.
Appreciate it.
Let's talk some baseball here real quick. I know you're a White Sox fan.
I am. Sometimes,
and they have been pretty disappointing to start the year. However, they're only 2 games back because that division is just absolutely trash. They're only 1 game over 500. I didn't realize that.
Yep.
But again, trade deadline. What do you want to see them do as far as, I don't know if they probably need outfield help. They probably need pitching help as well.
Pitching help. Yeah, I need some bullpen help. But I mean, honestly, top of my list is fire Tony La Russa, but that's not.
Yeah, that should have happened probably during the middle of last season. He's somehow, I don't know if he has something on the Reinsdorf. Jerry Reinsdorf.
They go way back, so you never know.
Yeah, they're definitely buddies. Somehow, I don't know if they're drinking buddies. I know Tony La Russa likes to knock them back. And then get behind the wheel of a car too. But they need help. They probably need a left-handed bat. Looking at their stats right here, pretty bad on-base percentage against right-handed pitching, bad slug. They don't slug much against right-handed pitching. They're really good against lefties, hitting 281 as a team, which is, I don't know what the collective batting average is this year, but it's like 230 something overall. So hitting 281 against lefties, slugging, which it helps when you have Jose Abreu, who's mashed lefties his entire career, Tim Anderson as well, who just got suspended, I believe, for 3 games. Did you see that? I think he made contact with an umpire.
I saw somebody. I didn't get a chance to actually really look into it, but yeah, it's been, whether it be injuries or just guys not kind of living up to what we hoped they would be. It's just been a really disappointing season, given the hype that team created last year. They didn't do a whole lot, getting bounced in the division or early in the playoffs. But yeah, after a pretty mediocre start, it's been, you can definitely tell the air has definitely been sucked out of the fandom, it felt like.
Which, I mean, a lot of that probably has to do with La Russa. It seems like he sucked the life out of his team too.
Yeah.
He's too old school. His shtick doesn't fly anymore. It obviously won him a lot of games a long time ago, but again, that was a long time ago now. Even when he first got hired, I remember Tim Anderson's had some comments that I forget his exact comments, but they were pretty much like he wasn't looking forward to even playing for him.
Right. I mean, I remember when they moved on, and the thought was they'd go for someone not necessarily younger, but definitely someone who can relate to players more, someone kind of more, as we all know, baseball has changed, drastically just in our, last 10 years for sure, just in terms of advanced metrics. And, I'm a big fan of that. I know all of our good friends are too. And I thought, they're going to go, more towards that route. And then you literally do the complete opposite with hiring a guy who hadn't coached in quite a while, and he's barely on his deathbed, and just an old school coach, old school manager. And I wasn't a big fan of it when it happened, and I continue to prove me right every day.
Yeah, he's 77 years old. And he hadn't managed since 2011.
Right.
So it'd been an entire decade. And he did win a World Series that year. Well, they should know that was the year that they were down 2 in the 9th with 2 outs, and David Freese hit a 2-run triple to tie it in Game 6. And then they end up winning. And then they were losing in, I think, the 11th. Josh Hamilton hit, I think he hit a homer to give him the lead. And then David Freese hits a walk-off bomb. He kind of became a postseason legend then. Then he was, I don't remember if he got fired or if he just walked away. But then he decided to come back, and they did win 93 games last year.
Mhm.
But again, they were kind of struggling through the first half of last year too, and then they kind of got hot. And it was a bad division last year
Hell's
too.
division was absolutely atrocious. And they I think if I remember correctly, I think they kind of limped towards the end, but it really didn't matter because they were so far up in the division that it didn't really matter. But kind of, I was looking at some reports, and there's people think that they could go after AJ Pollock and maybe Jacques Peterson. So I don't know if that's just said. I don't know. We'll see. I haven't really heard a whole lot about
Jacques Peterson. I didn't even think of him. Jacques Peterson can play all over the outfield. He was an all-star with the Giants in the first half. He's on the injured list right now, but I think he's okay. But yeah, he has 17 homers. He's always hit right-handed pitching real well, which is something they need. And especially with Eloy Jimenez being often injured at this point, which he hasn't really played the field much, but so's Luis Robert. How do you pronounce his last name?
I always thought it was Robert. That's how I always. But then I've heard both. I feel like I've heard both on the broadcast, on the radio. I don't know.
Yeah, but he's off injured as well. Then you're having Tony La Russa hit Leury Garcia at the top of the order. That's the kind of stuff that makes absolutely no sense. That's coming from Tony. He, as we said, such an old school guy. He's going to do the old school. You got to bat your fastest guy first, even if he doesn't get on base, which is such an old school thing because people don't steal bases anymore. It's all about hitting homers.
And he's done a couple of things this year, like intentionally walk a guy after already like down 2 strikes or something. It's just like
I think what was the count? It was on he intentionally walked. Forget who it was.
I thought it was like 1-2 count or something like that.
Yeah, it was Mookie Betts. He intentionally walked Mookie Betts on like a 1-2 count. Or no, it was Trey Turner. Intentionally walked Trey Turner on a 1-2 count. Max Muncy comes up, hits a 3-run homer or something. But then he intentionally walked Jose Ramirez.
Not too long ago either.
Yeah, of the Guardians after I forget what the count was, but it was super early in the game, like the 5th inning.
Right.
And they were already losing. It made absolutely no sense. It's almost like he was losing it a little bit. And of course he defended it and all of that, but I can't imagine Kenny Williams is too thrilled with that, with any of those moves. And honestly, it clearly shows that Ken Williams doesn't have that much of a pull with the Reinsdorf.
Right.
With Reinsdorf, if Tony's still there, because this is the time to fire him. They should have fired him in May. Sox fans hate him, and to the point where they're chanting "Fire Tony" at games. But again, only 2 games out because that division's terrible.
Yeah. So we'll see. I mean, it's there, so go for it. But I'm not expecting much. Probably similar. If we can get in, probably a similar quick exit in the playoffs. I can't make much noise at all, unless they kind of do like they did last year. They got hot at the right time, but they have not shown that's going to happen anytime soon. So.
And I mean, they are dangerous. You look at Yoan Moncada's only hitting 203. He could get hot. AJ Pollock, who's usually a really good hitter, he is OPS of 634. And then with Eloy Jimenez only having 98 at bats so far, I mean, and Yasmani Grandal has been terrible. So these guys have had a lot of success, and they're very capable of putting together a run. But they need a bat. As you said, Jock Peterson. I've even seen Ian Happ mentioned potentially going to the White Sox. Pitching wise, though, Dylan Cease has turned into a star. Giolito he has a ERA over 5. So if he can put together some good starts here, and Lance Lynn, who's been fantastic the past few years, only made 9 starts. He has an ERA near 7. So they have the pieces to kind of put it together. It's just it hasn't clicked yet. Now that maybe they're for the most part healthy. It will, but again, we'll see because kind of slogged through this for the first 101 games.
Yeah.
Let's see. Some big trades have happened today in baseball, starting with, excuse me, the Cubs trading Scotty Effross, a Indiana University, former Indiana University player, I should say, who's been their best reliever this year, to the New York Yankees, who are absolutely going for it as they should. I mean, they're 35 games over 500. They need bullpen help. They need rotation help, and they traded for one of the best bullpen arms in baseball so far this year. He's leading. Scotty Efros is leading Major League Baseball in appearances. He's made 47 appearances, 1 start, 2.66 ERA, doesn't walk guys, soft contact. He's a 28-year-old rookie, so he's under control for the next 5 years. His one downfall is, as I said, he did go to Indiana University. So take his talent with a grain of salt. But yeah, he's he's a fantastic reliever. He's an interesting story because he was taken in the 15th round in 2015. He was in just your typical middle round kind of guy who started some games, pitched out of the bullpen in the minor leagues, was kind of really struggling to the point where they almost released him, but then they kind of changed his delivery completely to this kind of sidearm guy, and he kind of took off, and now he'd been the Cubs' best reliever the past year and a half. And you know what? I was kind of ticked off about it at first, the trade, but at the same time, he's a 28-year-old rookie. He having a fantastic year, so they sold high, and they did, by all intents and purposes, they did really well in this trade. I'm getting, if I can pull up the forget the guy's last name, starting pitcher for the in the Yankee system, Hayden Wesneski is his name. He is in AAA. He's a 6th round pick in 2019 by the Yankees. Throws low to mid 90s. It's about 92 to 94. Can hit 98. Has one of the better sliders in the minor leagues with 18-inch vertical break is something I saw. He's really close to the majors, so I wouldn't be surprised if he makes a few starts this year and see what they have in him. But yeah, it's kind of an interesting trade because you don't see too many cheap, controllable relievers
right
being just sold like that, especially a team that is desperate for pitching. But Cubs have done a really good job here the past few years of churning out relievers from their minor league system, and they obviously. And I said this last week on the show as well. They obviously really believe in their pitching infrastructure because they've had success at the minor league level and now the major league level. Some of these guys developing into really good arms. And, relievers are a dime a dozen. You need starting pitching in order to win in baseball. And hopefully this Hayden Wesneski turns into something. It's obviously a huge risk. Trading for a guy who has no major league time, but yeah, I was ticked off at first, but which that usually happens when the Cubs trade a guy I like. I'm usually ticked off, and then after about half an hour, I actually read, and obviously the scouts in the front office know better than I do. But yeah. Elsewhere around baseball, we have
Reds made a move.
Yes.
Yesterday?
Good call.
Yeah.
Friday?
Or a couple days ago? Yeah, I can't remember.
Yeah, Friday. Luis Castillo, going to Seattle Mariners, and the Reds did really well in this trade. Luis Castillo was easily the top pitcher on the market, and he was going to require a big-time trade for somebody to get him. And the Mariners are going all in, and I love it because they haven't been to the playoffs in over 20 years now. Sitting here, 7 games over 500. Division's out of the question because the Astros are so good. But they're a half game up. Let's see, are they a half game up? I think they're two full games up for a wild card spot. Half game up, yeah.
Half game up, yeah. Toronto's 3.
Toronto has one of the wild card spots, and obviously the Yankees, Astros are running away with their division. And then Minnesota sitting there. So I think Seattle is actually 2 games up with the extra wild card because their White Sox are a game and a half behind Tampa Bay, and Seattle's half game up on Tampa Bay. So yeah, they're 2 games up. Yeah, not that a half game or a game or 2 games make that big of a deal or a difference, but the Reds made off with a huge haul, including Noelvi Marte, one of the top shortstop prospects in baseball. He's 20 years old at Double-A, he's at high single A, I should say. 825 OPS. Looks like an absolute future superstar. The Reds already have a really good farm system, so I'm sure we'll be hearing a lot about that here whenever we get together with our friend Andrew. He won't shut up about him. But yeah, they also picked up pitcher Levi Stout in the trade. Let's see who else. I mean, their farm system's loaded. They haven't had this good of a farm system in a long time, maybe since the Joey Votto years when he was coming up. But unfortunately, the Reds look like they're going to be pretty good here in a few years, which is one of my least favorite things. Although they are somehow out of last place now. It took them 101 games, but they are out of last place. What did they start? Was it 3-23 or something like that?
Where are they going to go?
Nowhere to go but up. They were at one point they were 3-22. So since May 5th, they are only 2 games under 500. You know what?
Still progress.
You don't want the Reds to get hot, I'm telling you. Only 21 games under 500 now. Elsewhere around baseball, Trey Mancini was just traded to the Houston Astros, so the rich get richer. Trey Mancini, he was the guy who had colon cancer and missed all of 2020.
Right.
He's a good hitter. He'll be a DH left field type. The big domino actually, before we get to that, the Yankees made another trade, trading for Frankie Montas and somebody else, Lou Trevino, I think his name is. But Frankie, probably the top pitcher on the market now that Luis Castillo had been traded. 3.18 ERA, throws hard, strikes out a ton of batters. You add him to Garrett Cole and Jamison Tyone and Nestor Cortez. Yankees are going to be a very easy pick to win the World Series, unfortunately. And then Tanner can actually break out his Yankees hat after he watches his first Yankees game of the year, which will be in the World Series probably. And I hope he's watching and text me because I like talking trash to Tanner. He likes to give it back.
He's not here to defend himself.
And that's exactly why I talk this much trash, because he can't defend himself. The big domino, though. What's that?
So where's Juan Soto going to go?
That is the big domino. Mm-hmm. Where is Juan Soto going to go? Sounds like the Yankees are out. Mets refuse to give up any sort of top prospect. So it looks like it's down to the I didn't even talk about this. Josh Hader traded from one contender to another, traded from Milwaukee to San Diego, which was shocking move by the Brewers. Hader had a rough stretch where the ERA crept above 4, but he's been arguably the best closer in baseball here the last 4 or 5 years. And the Padres didn't have to give up their top prospects, which leads to where's Juan Soto going to go? San Diego, as I said, top suitor. The LA Dodgers will probably end up with him. And they're sitting here 35 games over 500 as well. They don't need him, but they'll take him because somehow their major league team's always good. Their farm system is always stacked. I don't know why other teams can't do this. I don't get it. They're just like a factory. It's annoying. The Cardinals, though, have been the most aggressive. And if they end up with Juan Soto, it would be absolute death for me.
Yep.
They do. I mean, they trade for Nolan Arenado. They trade for Paul Goldschmidt. And if they had a Juan Soto, those the 3 most feared. That's easily the most feared trio of hitters in baseball.
Yep.
And Juan Soto is not a missing piece for some team. He is the piece for a team.
Yeah.
And
it's frustrating. Cardinals Yankees World Series.
Oh my God, I wouldn't watch it. No. A Dodgers Yankees World Series would be awful. I don't even know who I'm. I would hate baseball if Juan Soto goes to the Cardinals. My fandom might just fold in on itself.
Yeah, I've got a company I work for is based in St. Louis, so everybody's a freaking Cardinals fan. So if they land, it's going to be unbearable to talk any sort of sports with anybody I work with. So yeah,
you can just bring up the Rams no longer being there.
They don't even care. That's the thing. They do not care. They're Blues and Cardinals.
They are getting an XFL team, aren't they?
I think so. I think they're getting a MLS, or maybe it is XFL. I can't remember if it was football or soccer.
What cities will have XFL teams in 2023? Orlando, Vegas, San Antonio are taking the New York, LA, and Tampa Bay teams because they just announced them. I don't know. Mm-hmm. So COVID kind of ruined the XFL previously.
Yeah, it did.
And for some reason, instead of just keeping the same teams, they disregarded a couple other teams. St. Louis is getting one.
Okay.
Along with Seattle, DC, San Antonio, Vegas, Orlando, Houston, and Arlington, Texas. That will be the last I talk about the XFL for the foreseeable future. But yeah, I mean, the Juan Soto thing, Nationals are terrible. He turned down almost $500 million at 23 years old. If somebody offered me although, I mean, the Powerball was just won about half an hour from where I live right now. Really? If I would have won the Powerball, you would have never heard from me again. I would have disappeared off the face of the earth. Juan Soto turns down $500 million.
Was it? I didn't read much into it. Was it he just didn't want to play for the Nationals, or was it what was it? It was just, or was it more money? Or
I don't know. It was a 15-year deal, which would be the longest in history.
Yep.
And for 400 and I think it was 50 million, almost $1 billion. $1 million. I mean, you spread 450 million out over 15 years. It's not that much money, let me tell you, which is complete bullcrap. But I don't know. Nationals have clearly shown they don't really care about winning anymore. I mean, trading Max Scherzer away, letting Bryce Harper walk a few years ago. That had to be part of the reason why Soto doesn't think they're serious about winning, and probably why he turned it down.
Makes sense.
That's $30 million a year. He'll probably get more on the open market, I bet.
Yeah, especially LA. I mean, yeah, who knows?
Yeah. He's having a sort of down year by his standards, hitting 243, but still he has a 400 on base percentage. His batting average on balls in play are way down, which is career average for batting average on balls in play is 314, which the major league average is 294. He's only 243 so far this year. So his hard hit percentage is down, line drive percentage is down. But still 23 years old, and he's hitting the open market like this. I mean, he can be a free agent by 2025. So he still has a few years left. So the Nationals don't have to trade him. They can keep him for a few years. Now, if you're pretty certain he's not going to sign an extension, which turning down $450 million is probably evidence enough that he's never going to sign there. Right. Now's probably the time to do it. Let's trade him. They're asking for like the 4 top prospects in each organization, as well as some major league ready players from the major league roster, which Cardinals probably have enough to get it done, unfortunately. And actually, you know what? This will be the J-Man's Bucket prediction of the week. I'm going to do a little bit of reverse psychology here, but the Cardinals will trade for him by the deadline tomorrow, unfortunately. I hope it doesn't happen, but they are the team that's been the most aggressive. And I think once a Juan Soto thing is resolved, we'll see more deals, because I think it's definitely holding up the hitters market, like a Wilson Contreras or Ian Happ. I think a lot of teams are waiting to see what happens with Juan Soto before they move on to some of these other players, because I know Mets are interested in Soto, Padres are interested in Soto, but there are also teams that have been mentioned with Wilson Contreras and Ian Happ. So they're kind of the fallback options for that, which is a pretty dang good fallback option.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think the St. Louis Cardinals ultimately trade for Juan Soto. J-Man's Book of Prediction of the Week brought to you by Indiana Farm Bureau Insurance Agent Travis Watchering. For life, home, auto, business, renters, workers' comp, and farm insurance, contact Travis at 219-869-4561. His email is travis.watchering@infb.com. Do you have any more baseball thoughts?
No, I really don't. No, fortunately. Can't bring a whole lot to the table.
I pretty much talked the whole time. I apologize.
No.
Let's see. Elsewhere around baseball, there's Austin Riley just signed a massive extension with the Atlanta Braves, a 12-year, $220 million deal for the 25-year-old who has 29 homers so far this year. So that's a big deal. But trade deadline's always fun, and at least gives something to talk about and look forward to, especially when your team is trash like mine is. And it's fun when your team's in it like yours is. So.
Yeah.
Do you want to get educated here real quick?
Let's do it.
On this day in 1928, Babe Ruth hit his 42nd home run of the season. It took him 4 weeks ahead of his 1927 pace when he hit. I'm going to look it up real quick. Did he hit? That might have been when he hit the record. When he hit 60 in 1927, he only ended up with 54 in 28. He was a pretty good one.
Yeah, not too bad.
On this day in 1945, New York Giants outfielder Mel Ott hit his 500th homer. He joined Babe Ruth and Jimmy Fox as the only players ever to reach that milestone. On this day in 1957, ex-MLB outfielder Glenn Gorbis threw a regulation baseball a record 445 feet and 10 inches in a game promotion. How far do you think you could throw a baseball right now?
Oh, that's a good question. I have no idea. I feel like I'd get a quarter of that probably.
Quarter of that's 100 feet, 100 and some change.
Yeah.
I have about. I'm looking at my backyard right now. I have about, I would say 30 yards to the road, and I don't think I could hit the road. That's 90 feet.
So, are we warming up first, or are we going cold?
No, I don't want to.
I'm throwing out a shoulder at that point.
I was gonna say I don't think I want to tear my rotator cuff. So a little bit of warm. Maybe I can reach the road.
Yeah.
I don't want to try it though. On this day in 1963, Arthur Ashe became the first African-American tennis player to be named in the U.S. Davis Cup team. I don't know what the U.S. Davis Cup is.
Nope. Maybe. Never heard of it. Good
On this day in 1971, who won the Dixie 500 in Atlanta? It was a NASCAR race.
Oh, God. With a guy named Judd, I have no idea.
Close. Richard Petty.
Next guess.
On this day in 1973, struggling ABA club Virginia Squires trade star forward Julius Erving to the New York Nets. Maybe the ABA would have survived had Virginia Squires kept on to him. On this day in...
Hindsight's 2020 though, so we don't
hindsight's always 2020, but it seems like that would have been common sense at that time. On this day in 1978, the Cincinnati Reds legend Pete Rose extended his hitting streak to 44 games, which is a National League record. I don't know if that was the last one, if it was broken the next game or what. It seems like 44 is the National League record still.
It's a lot of games.
Yeah, I don't think we'll ever see that again. Pitchers are just too good, throw too hard. I was talking to my dad, and I don't know if Tony Gwynn, his style of play, would have lasted in today's Major League Baseball. Yeah. It's crazy to even think about.
Kind of goes back to what we were saying before. It's just crazy how much has changed just in our lifetime.
Yeah. Yeah, guys are throwing harder than they ever have, and obviously, as you said, analytics and all that sort of stuff has completely changed it. On this day in, there's a Mike Tyson one. That's never good. This one is, though. He actually did something good. He outpoints Tony Tucker in 12 rounds in a heavyweight boxing unification matchup in Las Vegas. He's the first to own all three major belts, WBA, WBC, and IBF simultaneously. I would assume WBA is World Boxing Association. WBC would be World Boxing
Championship.
Champion. I don't know. IBF is
National Boxing Federation.
International. You know what? You're probably right.
How long you could last in the ring with Mike Tyson before he just knocks you out? Not saying it's a fight, just how long before he just
he would. I'd honestly probably pass out if I looked at him. Let's be honest. I walk into the ring and his face tattoo would just make me spontaneously combust.
Yeah.
One punch.
3 seconds. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm saying like time. Like you don't have to try and throw a punch. Like you just have to just survive.
Just have to somehow. Yeah. Probably. Yeah. 3 seconds would probably be a good over under.
I think I'd be able to give maybe a little like a shake, and then before I know I'd be waking up on a hospital bed.
Yeah, I'd be unrecognizable. On this day in 1994, Baltimore Orioles shortstop Cal Ripken Jr. became only the second player after Lou Gehrig to appear in 2,000 consecutive games.
Incredible.
Well, that's one record in sports that will never be broken.
Nope.
Guys don't even play all 162 anymore.
No.
On this day in 2002, Ray Lewis signed a 5-year contract extension where the Baltimore Ravens gave him a $19 million signing bonus. It was the largest in NFL history.
Questionable character. Well, we'll move on.
Yeah, very questionable character. A lot of rugby. It's weird. That's gonna do it, I think, for on this day. There's not a whole lot else. On this day is brought to you by Mooney Woodcrafts. Tanner did not give me a read for Mooney Woodcrafts, nor do I have anything to show from Mooney Woodcrafts, but he's a very talented person with his woodcrafts. Like seriously,
North Carolina.
Yes, he's fantastic. Like I need to just order something because he does really cool work. We have a Tan and J Man show on. I think, do you guys have a boiler breakdown one?
Yep. Yeah, he gave us one. It's pretty awesome. It's incredible.
It's really good. So go check out Mooney Woodcraft. Yes, I'm sure he's on Instagram, probably on Facebook as well. Go check out Mooney Woodcraft. Speaking of the NFL, because I guess Ray Lewis was the last on this day one, but have you followed the Bears training camp at all?
A little bit here and there. I mean, it's the Bears. I'm trying to get excited, but it's really hard. I mean, the nice thing is it's in kind of a new regime, so it's not expecting a whole lot. And really, honestly, what saved my fandom last year was the fact they drafted Justin Fields. Although I did not want him to play much at all because I wanted him just come in wrap and just let him learn. I didn't think we're gonna be very good anyways. But that's not what they did. They went out and played him, and he got his butt kicked a lot. But hey, it is what it is. Like they made the same mistake before last time I picked that quarterback. But I'm not expecting much. I feel like they didn't do a whole lot to help out Fields. Their offensive line is suspect. I like Darnell Mooney, but he's not a number one wide receiver. At least not right now. He could have turned into something. I don't know. Defense should be decent. I mean, Eberflus defensive-minded coach. I like that. Although in today's NFL, it's offense, and more offense. So we'll see how he can obviously adapt, and it's all about the staff that he brings in. But yeah, not expecting a whole lot. I mean, especially same division as Aaron Rodgers. He's going to embarrass us on primetime TV twice a year, probably again, and it's just embarrassing.
What game was it where Fields was it against the Browns where he got sacked 10 times?
I can't remember. It was it sounded.
It was just running for his life.
And I thought maybe it was Fields because the whole thing with Nagy at the time was Mitch wasn't his QB, so it was like he didn't have the style. So it's like when we had Fields, okay, it's his QB, and it still felt like we ran the same type of offense like we ran with Mitch. Didn't really play to Fields' strengths, which I love. Just love the pick. I was ecstatic for the pick. He's who I wanted. If we could get, I didn't think we were going to get a quarterback at the time, but when they got him, I was ecstatic. But I knew we weren't going to do a whole lot with him. He needs a lot of help, and we have yet to really give it to him. Sounds like Evan James is a little immature. I thought he was going to be a really good pick, but we'll see if he can even crack the starting lineup, which doesn't sound all that promising right now.
I literally, it was today, I just read a story about him like not clicking at all with the new offensive line coach to the point where he like walked off. And he was, I kept hearing people talk about Tevin Jenkins last year, how they thought he was going to be really good, but it felt like he barely even played last year. And now he's already on the outs with this new coaching staff. It's not looking good for him.
Yeah. So we'll see. So I'm not expecting a whole lot. So we'll see. I mean, we have a ton of primetime games just because they're just the history of the Bears and benefit of playing the Packers twice a year. But we'll see. Jury's still
I did
out.
see a lot of Bears fans were pumped because Eberflus yelled at the team, which tells me what exactly did Matt Nagy do? Did he coach at all? The fact that they were like even the Chicago media is like, man, this looks a lot different. He yelled at the player. Like that seems like a normal thing that clearly wasn't happening.
Football. Yeah,
especially in football.
Oh, it's just sad when your expectations are that low.
Yeah, I'm right there
with
you.
I mean, obviously you follow the Chicago media a lot, just given the Cubs. But what are you seeing on the stadium front in terms of?
So I know the mayor, Lori Lightfoot, who is living this close to Chicago. They hate her. Every single person I've seen just hates her. But her last ditch effort to keep the Bears in like downtown was to put a dome on top of Soldier Field. They even had like artist renderings, and it looked odd for one. But
the thing is, Field as it is already looks really dumb. I mean, the old part is really cool, but it looks like a spaceship landed on the old part.
Yeah, kind of does.
Just the thought of adding a dome to that. Oh man.
Did you see the drawings at all?
I did. Yeah, I saw it through on my Twitter feed.
I've never been to Soldier Field. I've always wanted to go. I might be going this year because the Dolphins play there.
Yeah. I love the fact it's cool that it's downtown Chicago. I mean, you're only you don't see that. I mean, living here in Indy where I do. I mean, Lucas Oil's right downtown. That's really cool just because of. I mean, Indy's special in the fact that it's one of the best host cities in the country with whether it be football, basketball, whatever. You got it right down. With Chicago, I mean, being so spread out, United Center's not a great place to host. I mean, it's a good place to host, but in terms of the environment around it, not good at all. But it's cool. I've done my park, a bit, done the walk up to it. It's cool just to kind of be, you feel like you're in Chicago versus some of these, stadiums are on the outskirts or in the suburbs or in the middle of nowhere, just in a big plot of land that they can build around it, which is definitely the move a lot of these places are going, which is what it sounds like Bears to do, which I don't blame them. I mean, the whole idea is obviously they want to make as much money as possible, and it probably will be a dome stadium so they can potentially host the Super Bowl or just host other events. I mean, you might be able to get maybe a Big Ten football championship there if they do have a dome, whatever it may be, but we'll see. I'm kind of indifferent. I thought when I first heard that they were thinking about moving out of the city, I was like, oh, that, the history, but it's like, at this point, it's like, who cares? Who cares?
And as you said, a lot of the newer stadiums are being built outside of like actual downtown areas.
Yeah.
Like the Dolphins, I mean, the stadium's been there since 1987, I think. And they're like 20 minutes from downtown Miami. Where the Rams and Chargers play now, they're in Inglewood. Like that's a good 40 minutes from downtown LA. So it makes sense because Arlington Heights, where they're proposing to move out out where the like horse track is or wherever. It would be far more accessible. I mean, literally right next door to O'Hare, for one. Lot of room where you can have like great parking. And it's really starting to be built up out there in like Schaumburg area. So it makes sense.
Style. I mean, if you have that much land, I mean, that's probably what they want to do is just build up the area to have it be just a hub for when people come down and they don't want to leave versus when game's done, people dip out. I saw TikTok. I think that TikTok is truth, but I saw one guy talking about, he was from the Chicago area, about how, and I don't know if you've seen this, that if the Bears were to move, the city of Chicago can do similar to what Cleveland did when the Browns left, which is you can talk to the NFL about just the fact that there's so much history within the Bears that they can actually move a team into Chicago to kind of replace, just because I heard there's a rumor linked to the Jaguars just because their owner has ties to Illinois. I know he's to the University of Illinois. So there was like that. It's like, so you could have the Chicago Bears and then you have the Arlington Heights. Whatever. I don't know if that's true or not. That's just something I saw. I was like, that's interesting. And I was too lazy to look it up if that was even true. But I think that's what that's what the Browns did when they moved to they fought to keep a team there just because of the historical significance of what they'd done with the NFL. And obviously the Bears have as much history with the NFL as anybody. Not winning, but just history with the NFL. But so what if even a thing, if it even happens. But
yeah, I mean, they're the third largest market in the U.S. The two biggest have two NFL teams. Why can't Chicago have two?
Yeah.
As you said, one in
Arlington
Arlington
Heights.
And one, two baseball teams. I mean, it would make sense. I didn't even like think of that part of it. But yeah, I'd probably work.
Yeah.
I don't know if the NFL is talking about expansion at all. It seems like 32 teams is enough.
I think 32 teams is perfect.
Yeah, they have enough playoff spots now. They have. I mean, they moved to Vegas. That'd be about the last spot you could think of to move to. Maybe Nashville, but I know baseball's wanting to expand. Nashville is probably going to get a team, and probably Vegas. I would assume Oakland moves to Vegas. They should move to Vegas anyway.
Yeah.
For baseball, but elsewhere around the NFL, not a whole lot's happening. I saw
Debo got paid.
Debo got paid. Yeah, he got paid. So that long national nightmare for the Niners is over. Now they have to figure out where to trade Jimmy Garoppolo. Deshaun Watson suspended 6 games, which is
on the wrist.
It should have been 6 years, to be honest.
Yeah.
6 games is just crazy. I mean, Calvin Ridley suspended an entire year for betting. Tom Brady suspended 4 games for deflating footballs, and Deshaun Watson, with all of this evidence against him, 6 games. It's pathetic. Absolutely. And Josh Gordon had his entire career pretty much suspended for some weed. It's just it's frustrating. But we have one segment left here, a word association, where I give you a person, player, whatever. And first thing that comes to your mind. So I got, since camps have started, I got some NFC quarterbacks for you here. Starting with Carson Wentz.
I think what could have been. I mean, like he was so hyped out of college, and I mean, I liked him coming out of college in Philly, and obviously he led Philly all the way until he got hurt for that Super Bowl run, and just happened the same.
Yeah, he blew out his knee. Of course, Nick Foles wins it for the Eagles, which was shocking. But he was going to be the MVP. Number 2 here, Jalen Hurts.
Stud. He's a stud. I loved him. I liked him at Alabama, and I liked him when he went to Oklahoma. I think he's just a competitor. He's a winner. I hope he does well out there.
Dak Prescott.
back because he plays for the Cowboys, so I just naturally have a disdain for anybody who wears the star. I don't know. I don't think about it. I feel like he's average is probably selling him short, but I just feel like if he played, but he played for Washington, I don't think he is near the hype around him.
No, I don't either. And did he get paid? I don't remember if he got paid. I know he was wanting to get paid.
I thought he did.
I do too. But again, as you said, if he played for, I'm trying to think, even like a Carolina or something, he wouldn't.
Yeah.
No one would even talk about him. Jacksonville, yeah, no one would even talk about him. Daniel Jones.
Feel bad for playing fine. I say the whole NFC East. I mean, you guys cover extensively.
Disband the NFC East. Let's put the Giants on Sunday Night Football 4 times a year. That'll get us the ratings. I saw some video of Daniel Jones today, actually, in training camp. He fumbled like 3 snaps. It's just like, man, you're in like your 4th year in the NFL and you're still doing this stuff. He was a bad pick. Justin Fields.
God, I hope it works out for him. I can't. I hated the Trubisky pick at first. I ended up liking him, and I kind of felt bad when they got rid of him. I understood why. Man, I'm gonna really be sad if they run him out of town, and if they do, it'll be just because they don't do anything to help him.
Yeah, which they're off to a pretty terrible start helping him this year.
Yeah,
so far.
Yeah, he's a competitor. Like watching him in the college football playoff, his senior year was awesome. And kind of when the Bears have a chance to get him, I'd love him. I didn't think they had a shot. So I thought at that point he could have potentially fought for the number 1 pick, but obviously it was Trevor's to lose. But I was ecstatic they fell to left or what it was.
Speaking of Trubisky, I saw that Mason Rudolph is pushing him pretty hard so far to the point where it's it's kind of neck and neck.
Poor Mitch.
Who could have seen that coming?
Yeah, poor Mitch.
Aaron Rodgers.
The bane of my existence.
Yeah.
Hate him.
For about a decade and a half now, too. It's been a minute.
I understand. I feel not to the full extent. He doesn't win like the championship as much, but I kind of get where you're coming from being a Dolphins fan in the AFC. We're playing against Tom Brady twice a year. So, but not fully.
Very similar.
Yeah, but it's
And
he did a new thing. I was like, normally if that had been like a Purdue game, I probably would have jumped up and wanted to fight the guy. But I was like, no lies detected. So it's very sad.
Kirk Cousins.
You like that? That's all I think
of. Jared Goff.
Oh man. Forget him. I mean, it's funny that he as soon as he leaves LA, they win.
Yeah. He had an MVP type year when they lost the Super Bowl, and he never recovered from that for whatever reason. Tom Brady.
The GOAT.
Yeah, unfortunately. He retired for 30 minutes and came back. He's almost getting as bad as LeBron is liking attention.
Yeah.
LeBron switching numbers about every year. I did see, this is off topic, but Cleveland's going to make another hard run at LeBron here when he's a free agent.
Oh my gosh.
They've literally been clearing the cap space for him again. I'm so sick of him in Cleveland as a whole.
So he'll go to Cleveland and then he'll try and they'll draft Bronny just because he'll be in his last year or something. But he's like probably a fringe top 100 player in high school.
Here's a failed Cleveland quarterback, Baker Mayfield.
I love the swagger. It's all I think about. He's got swagger. That's about it. But he's got some game to him. But
his
great college quarterback, phenomenal college quarterback,
great college quarterback. His teammates supposedly hated him in Cleveland. Jameis Winston.
Got to eat that W. God.
They can make a documentary on Jameis. He's
Yeah.
hilarious. He's funny.
He should be mic'd up all the time.
Should. Let's see. Have you seen the video where when he was suspended down in Florida State, he tried to like put his uniform on and go out and warm up, and
he was,
Jim was like,
warming up. Yeah.
Marcus Mariota. He's in Atlanta now. He's the forgettable one.
Oh God, talk about forgettable. Yeah, a lot of hype coming out of college. I remember at Oregon.
Oregon, yeah. Matthew Stafford
failed in Tennessee. Stafford was a guy I absolutely hated just because of the team he played for. But then as soon as he switched to LA, I was like, I kind of like it.
Yeah,
I was really happy to see him win Super Bowl. I mean, playing for Detroit for all that time, and also it was kind of funny. He's like, I mean, Detroit fans absolutely adored him, and then to see your golden boy leave you and just win it all immediately.
Yeah, win it first. No. Yeah, you don't see quarterbacks change teams of his caliber, and now we've seen Russell Wilson do it, and obviously Tom Brady's done it. So Brady was kind of the first to do it. Speaking of just got paid, Kyler Murray.
Oh man, gotta give him homework apparently. Well, they took it out of his contract, but he's excited. He's exciting to watch. I mean, selfishly being a fan, and the fact that oh god, the receiver's out for a couple games.
DeAndre Hopkins.
Hopkins is out. I'm like, man, I hope.
Yeah,
Rondale Moore can get some number one reps, and Kyler to Rondale a short duo in NFL history probably.
Yeah. Trey Lance.
I mean, they love him out there, and he hasn't really done much yet. But I mean, it's definitely like it's his team. So go back for Chicago boy Jimmy G.
Drew Lock / Geno Smith. They still don't know who the starter is going to be. That's a bad situation, though. I'll tell you that.
That's a bad situation. Yeah, it's. I just think when I think Drew Lock now, I just think it's just all memes. I saw that actually. I think about Drew Lock. I think about when he was at Mizzou. It was a bowl game, and he was getting a little cocky. I can't remember who they played, and he was getting cocky, and he was doing some motion with his arms, like almost like on a suit, and he just absolutely destroyed, and the team taunted him the whole way back, and cracked me up. Put up about 800 yards at Purdue.
I was going to say I was at that game.
I wasn't there, but
I remember you weren't there. But that was a good college football game. He did tear up. But word association segment brought to you by Pro Forma Print to Promo Group. Again, don't have the read, but I know they do print a bunch of stuff. Obviously, as you can imagine. So go check them out. Here, before we go, I got a trivia question for you. There are 2 NBA players in history that have recorded a 30-point game at age 40 or older. Who are they?
Is it 40 or older? Or what was the age?
40 or older. 30-point game at 40 or older.
I've got one because of what happened. Is Bill Russell one of them?
He is not one of them. He wasn't much of a star.
I don't know how long he played. A lot of those old guys, I'll see pictures of them, like they look like they're 50, but they're probably like
29. Yeah. He was not one of them.
I'll do one more guess.
2, both of them played in our lifetime.
Oh, okay. Well, my guesses were not even close. I was seeing some old guys. Did MJ have a 30-point game?
He did.
That was my first guess. I was like, I don't know if he played. I was like, did he retire in his late 30s? Let's see. Let's make it one more. Ooh, 40.
This guy won a championship in the 2010s.
Ooh, I've got 2 guys in mind. Did Tim Duncan do it?
Close, though. Dang. I mean, that was a good guess. Dirk.
He was my other guess.
Yeah.
I couldn't remember. Yeah, I couldn't remember how long I know Timmy played for a while, but I didn't know what age. And I was like, well, Dirk definitely seems like he played, but maybe he didn't. Dang
Yeah,
it.
I don't think Timmy got to 40. He got pretty close to 40.
Yeah, so all these guys kind of.
But,
All these guys, I'm like, I know they got close, but did they really crack the 40 number? But that was a good one. I look at my original guesses were like Kareem. I don't know how long he played. I don't know
yeah.
how long. What was my other? I don't know how long Dr. J played.
I don't know. I'm surprised though.
They made Dr. J look really old on Winning Time, so I was like,
Yes.
maybe it was him, but
Winning Time was fantastic, wasn't it?
it was. Yeah,
It was so
obviously very dramatized, but
yeah. I saw that they're casting for season 2, and they need like Kurt Rambis, James Worthy, Byron Scott, I think was the other one that they're casting for. So it's obviously going to continue on with this sort of roster. But that is going to.
I was say the point guard was playing his dad, which I thought was pretty cool.
Really?
Yeah, I think it was the point guard who Magic was fighting with. His dad was playing his dad.
That's cool. I didn't know that.
I think that's what it was. Yeah,
that's really cool. I didn't know that. Thanks for joining us tonight. Thanks for joining me tonight, I should say, Webby. And we will be back at it next episode. Tanner will be back. But have a fantastic week, everybody.